Hello and welcome once again to Boomer 11, and we are continuing our coverage when it comes to the FIFA World Cup 2022 happening right now in Qatar. And yesterday, as always, as it has been in this World Cup, has thrown up a few surprises again along the way, and some really good matches that we saw yesterday. We're starting with Wales versus Iran, where Wales lost 2-0 to Iran, another Asian team triumphing over a footballing giant, you would say, in terms of their reputation. Obviously, Wales still probably is the lowest of the when it comes to the profile of teams that have lost, but still a great match. And then we had Qatar crashing out against Senegal in a 3-1 loss. And then we had again going forward into Group A. The next match that happened was Netherlands versus Ecuador, where it was a 1-0 draw. Although you would say the Netherlands would have most possibly lost that one match, and it could have been 2-0, 2-1 rather. But that result has made sure that the host Qatar is out of the World Cup. And then probably the most talked match, soccer versus football, it was a goalless draw. So there is no superior term yet, but a lot of disappointment in that one match. But obviously the Netherlands in Ecuador match and the Wales in Iran match covered it up, you would say. But overall, a very thrilling day yesterday. I have with me here Abel. How excited, and I mean, how excited are you for today? And also talk me through some of the matches that we saw yesterday and how great was the action.
I mean, firstly, it was a fantastic day of football once again, to talk the least, because you saw it staying up to the reputation of this World Cup. This World Cup has all been about teams punching about the weight, teams really putting out a shift in and day out. To start out with that first match, which took place yesterday, uh, I personally thought, yesterday's day of football in itself spoke about how an Ecuadorian team could really punch above the weight. I thought the biggest test yesterday was going to be against a strong Dutch team. But ultimately, if you look at that game, it was Ecuador who dominated over the Netherlands team. We have hyped up the Netherlands team way too far in this live. We did a complete tactical breakdown as to how they're going to line up,
Yeah.
how they're going to play. But I personally thought it was a letdown ultimately, because they just didn't have enough outlets to create chances. They were a complete letdown. So that was a good game of football. Ultimately, I saw some good football from the Ecuadorian team. Especially, I have to give it to Ener Valencia once again. He steps up. He's been stepping
Yeah.
up quite well for them, alongside Plata Estrada as well, and also Persiano. What a game he's been. What a tournament he's been having, and also Estupinian. These wing backs of
I mean,
Ecuador has
you
been
have
putting
to
in
give it to Ena
escalation.
Valencia because you have to give it to
Yeah,
Ena Valencia because they did go through a transition period where Antonio Valencia, one of the best players, was
yeah.
was asked to shift out, was phased out of the system. Ena Valencia scored their last 6 World Cup goals for Ecuador now, and that just shows the kind of presence he has in this team. He had some injury concerns, but obviously to come back from a game where he gave it all to another game where he again gave his everything, and he almost made sure that Qatar stayed in this World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was a true effort from Ener Valencia, because he also had an injury cloud over him after the last game against Qatar. For him to stay fit and to come into this entire match and to put up a performance like that, though he was again taken off the pitch because of that same injury, again aggravating. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how bad is his injury at this point, and will he be fit for the next game against Senegal, which is like a virtual knockout. It's like a round of 16 before a round of 16. Who wins literally goes through. And for Ecuador, what they'll be hoping is to at least draw the game, so they stay high on the goal difference and will be able to edge over the Senegal team. Because at this point, Qatar are knocked out of the World Cup officially. They're the first team
yeah.
to get knocked out of the World Cup, and of course, after 2 games, they were truly disappointing. Once again, to talk about that. But then another match which I have to really mention is the Wales versus Iran game, which took place yesterday.
Of course.
Boy, oh boy, that was one good game which was put by Iran. I kept telling you, do not rule Iran off with that one performance,
Yeah,
and do not hype
yeah.
England with that one performance. So, uh,
We should get to that as well. Yeah,
yeah, so these two things are just in contrast, but at the same time, you
yeah,
know, them both staying up to their reputation was very good. Uh, but to talk about that, Iran, after whatever has been happening in their country, They had a shocking defeat against
Yeah.
England. They were rolled
I
over
mean,
by
and
the
you have to
English
give it
team.
to Iranian team as well, right? They did have that protest where they decided to stay silent during the national anthem in the first game,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of things happening domestically that I'm sure some of the players and their families might be involved as well. It is a difficult time for them as a team, but I think that's where they draw their strength from as well. Maybe
yeah.
you would say that the blues of a World Cup stage got to them in the first match, but yesterday they showed that they are, that overall also they showed that they are a team you shouldn't write off, because any team this World Cup, it seems to be, any team this World Cup, you can't write them off, because we had someone like in Australia almost challenge France in their first game when they played. I mean, we're going to speak about their team again. They have a match coming up in a few minutes. But
Yeah.
overall, if you see, well, Asian football especially has really, really impressed, isn't it?
Yes, they have. They have turned up pretty well in terms of this World Cup. Um Firstly, in that first after the first 2 days of the World Cup, everybody lost the hopes in Asian footballing teams. That's also because
Yeah.
of the quality of the teams they were up against. And firstly, Qatar has been poor in this World Cup. Let's be very honest. They were a team who I expected a lot out of Asian champions, carrying the reputation of entire Asia behind their back, host nation, home support. Um,
And I mean, you
but
did tell me that it's not like it's for the lack of preparation, right? You told me that they suspended their league. The players had come together. They started training camps. Training camps is something that we discussed earlier as well, before the World Cup, that many teams are entering this tournament without a training camp. And we saw initially at the start as well that some of the teams were mismatched, and it took them some time to get into that fray. We saw that with Argentina, for instance. I wouldn't say exactly they were facing issues, but it seemed like some teams were facing issue, hitting the ground running. But this Qatari team had practiced together. They had gel together. They played some practice matches together. So what really has gone wrong with this team? Is it just the fact that they've been outclassed, or is it that they have
uh,
never turned up on this stage
I think
despite their
they've been
potential?
outclassed in terms of talent. There's a huge depth and huge gulf in talent when they've come up against a good Senegal team. Remember, the Senegal team also fought very hard against the Dutch team. They were unlucky in finishing the game off. The last two goals they
Mhm.
consider were, it was just towards the latter half of the game. It was after 85th minute. But the Senegal team who they came up against yesterday is a very strong team. It's very tough to defeat them, and that's why I still think Ecuador are not yet through. Though they have been very impressive, but hold your cards. I would say Senegal team has still gotten in them, even though they are with their trump card player in Sadio Mane. They have put in a big shift in this World Cup to come out there and to play the way they have. So kudos to them for that. But talk about the Qatar team. I'm very afraid of Barcelona right now because Xavi has coached almost all of these players, and they have not really turned up, man. They've really turned. They've really gone down in these big occasions. I've seen that with them in the Asian Champions League as well when Al Sadd was playing a couple of seasons ago. But I was very intrigued to see how they go about. In Qatar League, they were dominating. It was like they made Qatar League look like a farmers league at one point of stage. They were dominating through possession, the number of goals they were scoring. The only big test for them was when they were coming up against a good team in Asian Champions League. There, once again, I saw that this team really choking under pressure. And I think it's now slowly turning into Barcelona as well. I'm very scared of that if that happens. So, yeah, to talk about that, just to talk about the club side of things, leave that behind. But I personally think this is a Qatar team who really let down because the talent they've got, seen them in the Asian Championship in 2019. The way they were defeating teams like Japan, the way they went up against strong teams from Asia, I personally thought there was a very big letdown. They had so much more potential to go out there and make a name for themselves in this World Cup. And some of the tactics also were slightly bizarre. They were very conservative. Now on the flip side of things, to a Saudi team, I was just listening to Hervé Renard's dressing room talk, which he did
Yeah.
against the Argentinian team. That just gave me
Yeah.
goosebumps, to be honest. And that was
Correct.
that was what
As
that's
a
what you want to
player,
play football for.
what you saw in the dressing room chat, right? Many a times, this is how you see it, right? In cricket, we always talk about how, or some sports, you always talk about how you play for the captain of the team, and captain of the team is very important. But in
Yeah,
football, you always play for the manager, and the manager owns the team. And Harvey Renard, it seemed like he's the kind of manager that the 11 players or the whole squad would want to play for. He is the kind of manager who'd lead from the front. You saw him, what do you say? You saw him completely, I would say, scolding of sort, and that's the best way to put it. He was out there in their faces. He realized that they're playing against Messi. it is a big occasion for the Saudi players, but he told them to look past it and treat Messi as just one of those players and not a legend, because at the end of the day, that's what you do, right? You don't play the, I mean, you most often than not play the man, you play the sport, right?
Yes, you can say that. You can play against that team, and you can leave behind all the reputation the team is carrying. But ultimately,
Yeah.
there's a test of skill as well, which I think is very
But I
important in
mean,
football.
even
Because
I was
you
just
look,
going over the stats, if
yeah,
I may, and if
yeah,
you look at the stats in that Qatar versus Senegal game, there's not much difference. I mean, this is just the general stats, and maybe more deep analysis will give us a better story. But they've got 10 shots on goal compared to Senegal's 13. Three shots are on target compared to Senegal's five. Possession is 45-55. Passes accuracy is 81% to 86%, and only 100 passes more is what Senegal scored. And if you look at the rest of it as well, most of these stats are similarly lining up. But we always speak about this when it comes to football, right? Stats only give you one fourth of the story. So what
yeah.
really went wrong for Qatar? Is it that they never converted those chances? Because it did seem like Senegal also didn't get enough chances. I mean, did not get a lot more chances compared to Qatar.
Yes, you can say that Senegal did get more chances than Qatar, but at the same time, Senegal were clinical in converting those. We keep telling time and
Yeah.
time again, right? It's so important to grab your chances because it doesn't come too often for you. And the moment in a World Cup like situation where you're up against a good quality opposition like Senegal, who are the African champions, who've been doing exceedingly well in world football over the last couple of years, you have to be on top of your game. I know you faced a very good Ecuadorian side. Now you can't say the Ecuadorian side was a bad team. They were a very good team. Now the kind of performance they
Yeah.
put up against the Netherlands, it really shows they are a team who can maybe upset
I
a
think
lot more bigger
suddenly
opposition.
Group A has gotten very close to the group of death.
Yes. So it is what it is. Ultimately, it is a very good group. It is not an easy group to really
Yeah.
qualify. And even if you look at the other group on the other side, Iran versus Wales was another clear example of an Iranian team coming out against a strong Welsh team who really showed in the second half against USA, the Welsh team, that they can play good football. Once they start pressing, they can go forward. Wilson can come in handy. Gareth Bale can be more penetrative with his passes. With Dan James making those more runs, Adam Ramsey playing the number 8 role against USA in the second half really showed this is the potential of this team. But yesterday, once again, I know they got a red card that really deflated the team big time. That's one of the reasons why they were able to create those chances. But then the goal which was scored right in the second half, that was just brilliant by Razain. It was by Cheshmi. I remember in the first goal was by Cheshmi. It was by Cheshmi. That was really good outside the box to score it. That opportunity was created. The second goal was just a matter of time for them to really score it. Deservingly knocked out. I think he's talking about Qatar and the rainbow symbol also. He's got it in there. So yeah, that's what it is. Ultimately, I personally thought Iran showed a lot more temperament in yesterday's game. They kept composure. They knew their chance would come. They capitalized it. The moment they got that extra 9 minutes added, they knew they were still in the game. They were trying to press
Wow.
Welsh defense a lot more. That's why I'm very disappointed about the Welsh team as well. They really did not turn up in this World Cup. In the first game, also USA did dominate them a lot more. And yesterday, you saw the quality of the USA team. Another team who's going under the radar so much, which I personally not expect to be playing this well. They had the players. We did discuss about it. They had players, but the players were not in form. But if you look at this World Cup, they've all put up a shift in the World Cup. Serginho Dest, who I have a huge critique of myself, was getting into great positions yesterday on the right hand side. He was becoming extremely threatening. And to talk about the Captain America himself, as so-called Captain America of soccer team, Christian Pulisic, what a player, what a show he's been putting in Qatar. I think he
I
needs a
mean,
USA
I think
jersey wherever.
Chelsea fans would be pissed, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't
Chelsea
get you
fans
there.
would be pissed right now.
I mean, a lot of club football fans will be pissed at a lot of players. Look at Harry Maguire on the other side. He's been the best player for England in this tournament. Actually,
Yeah, I
again, he
mean,
was threatening on those
he
corners.
was their best player on the pitch.
Exactly, he was the
England's.
best player on the pitch. The way he was so comfortable on the ball, he was doing some of his trickery. He was getting past the midfielders. That was wonderful to see. There was a moment where you came up against Pulisic and dribbled past him. I was like, "Whoa, this guy is looking like prime Maldini, for example." And I was like, "Okay, maybe we need to give more time to this guy." But he had another good game on the pitch. So
Yeah, I mean, it is the
I per-
system, right? We did cover about it, Abel. It is the system that
I
affects Harry
think it
Maguire, right?
is the pressure, or it is just that they feel more
Hmm.
comfortable playing in that role.
But I think maybe, there's also the fact that, I mean, it's not like Man United did not give him chances. They did trust him a lot more. Is it something that's got to do with the fans, the kind of pressure? Because Man United fans have always been on his back. I mean, they've never liked the way he's played for their club. But then also, you reckon the kind of pragmatism that's shown by Gareth Southgate is the reason why Harry Maguire is a lot more confident, because he doesn't have to make. He's someone who's not got that kind of pace that you would expect is required in a defender when it comes to Eric Ten Hag's system or any
Yeah.
Man United system. For that example, Man United like to play aggressive football, not cricket, aggressive football. And Harry Maguire is not the kind of defender you play in that system, isn't it? I mean, would he do better in another English club or maybe in another league?
Yes, you can say so because with whatever has been happening with Harry Maguire, the pressure has got to him at some stage. You can say that, but at the same time, I also feel he's a lot more comfortable. He's playing the leadership role so well for this team in the last
Hmm.
what 2 years or so, especially with the England team. Euros was a huge turnaround for him. Even that season, he was not having the best of seasons with the United team. They went on to lose in the UEL final. He did not have a very good Premier League system, but when he came for the Euros, he looked like a very rejuvenated and a very cool customer in the defensive line. And I remember one of the penalties he took in the Euro final against Italy. The confidence at which he took the penalty in itself was like, okay, this guy means business. He's like, he was so confident. He was playing the leadership role so well as a defender, and he's a vice captain on the team as well. I think there's a lot of entrustment which has gone to him in the English team, which has not gone to him in that United team. Regardless of which system United played, Harry Maguire never turned up. I think it has to do a lot mentally than the kind of player he is. Because if you look at Harry Maguire in the Leicester team, he was a great player. Nothing
Yeah,
to
he
talk.
was. He
I mean,
was.
I can't say I'll justify his poor performance on the field with United. It was awful. There were times when he looked absolutely ridiculous as a defender, which even a schoolboy of any footballing team shouldn't be doing. So these were times when I personally would be critical, and you should be as well. But I still think it has to do a lot behind the scenes and his skills on the field, because this guy has got it in him. No player becomes bad overnight. No player becomes bad
Yeah,
over one season. And a player who can do the same shift in for his nation in a high profile tournament like World Cup or a Euro means he's a very good player. He can handle the pressure
fair.
well. He's very much more suited to the system.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah,
that's a fair point, right? We've seen so many club footballers, especially if you are an Argentinian fan, your number nine position. Even you would tell me better. You've seen so many players who were club legends, but could never really be Argentinian legends, could never convert their club form. Aguero, for
yeah.
instance, was never that player. He was in the blue of Manchester, that he was in the blue of Argentina.
Yeah, I would say so, and that's something which this again that it's again down to the system. It's again down to a lot of other factors as well. But ultimately, it is what it is. You have to take it by the chin, and you have to move on. But
Yeah.
I personally think now going ahead for Harry Maguire, it's high time he looks for another club. I think we've spoken enough on him. Maybe at the end of the tournament, we can come to a better conclusion as to how good a tournament is
Yeah,
at.
yeah. Fair enough. Then let's cover the last match then that happened yesterday. I mean, we did speak about England and USA, but talk me through this. What do you say? Talk me through the system that happened when it came to USA. They look the dominant team, isn't it? And the fact that Pulisic hit the bar as well. How well did the US team gel together, and why didn't the England team actually seem like they were able to counter them at all? Because it did seem like the
Um,
kind of match where USA was just one goal away from to be winning, and any other day it would have been that 1-0 victory for USA.
yes, I think so.
And I mean, one more thing
Especially
just to add before you get to it, we don't see the kind of England we saw in their first match, right? The first match they were a lot more aggressive. They pressed higher. They were looking for those runs, and that's the reason why they ended up scoring 6 goals. Even though they did let 2 goals in,
yeah.
they did score those 6 goals. But yesterday they looked like the kind of team that again went back to the system, where they don't want to give you a goal, even if that
Yeah,
comes at the cost of
that's
not
something
getting
which
a
I
goal
thought
themselves.
was just ridiculous from the English team, because look at the attacking threats they have in their team. Now, Phil Foden, who's one of my favorite players, there's no bias on that because I personally like watching Phil Foden or something. But the quality which Phil Foden has, I don't think he should be benched in any team in the world. I really did not understand what was the thinking behind not bringing in Phil Foden. I did not understand the idea behind not pressing a lot more. And Mason Mount has been very erratic throughout the season. Once again, I keep telling that as much as I like him, but he's been extremely erratic. He's got one good game, and the next game he really goes off. And I don't know why they were just playing all the horizontal
Don't
passes
you reckon they
again and
should
again.
start alternating between Mason Mount and Phil Foden so that you cover the law of averages from Mason Mount?
Maybe, but the fact is that you have a Madison who's slightly injured, so that's the reason he's not being preferred. And of course, Mason Mount is a preferred player in Gareth Southgate system. Okay, it's fine. He had a decent game in the first match. He put in a shift. He created a couple of opportunities in the first game. But is he your answer in big games like the US game yesterday? Yunus Musa did control the midfield. Let's not. There's no two ways about it. Yunus Musa was the better player in yesterday's game over a Bellingham
Yeah.
or a Mason Mount. And to talk about McKennie as well, McKennie did come very close to scoring that goal. And Sergio Dest, once again, I have to give credit to him where it's due. He was getting into positions brilliantly, and also with Christian Pulisic. We understand that there were not as many goals or shots on target. The goalkeepers weren't tested as much, but then it was a dominating performance by the US team. They in all round aspects they did cover. So I'm just going to bring up a stat as to how were the attacking threats throughout the game. If you look at that, do you understand the United States did have some crucial attacking threats, though England did attack in phases, but ultimately it was US who were on the other side. They were getting into the final third a lot more, and they had a better game ultimately. So from here on for England, it's not going to be easy if they're going to go in with this kind of mindset of just being a lot more relaxed on the ball. I thought they should have played with a lot more intensity. I know they were coming off a win against Iran that really gave them a lot of confidence, but I felt that they were slightly overconfident yesterday.
All right. I mean, let's talk about the matches that we have today. Some interesting games coming up. We're starting off with Australia and Tunisia. Two teams will be, hoping to make their mark. Of course, Tunisia did hold Denmark to that nil-nil draw, and that's the reason why you would say that they are ahead of the table. But coming into this match, you would say that Tunisia did. I mean, they did have a spirited Denmark to face, but now you would say that Australia would be a little bit more confident. I mean, although the defense would be a little bit in peril of the fact that they gave away 4 goals, but it was 4 goals to France. They did look like a good team in that first 30 minutes before France took over.
Yeah, I mean, to be very honest, Tunisia team has been a decent team throughout to watch, and they've had some good performance also, especially the game against Denmark. I thought they were excellent in terms of the way in which they maintained the composure. If I'm talking about one player to watch out for, it's going to be Ismail Jabali. Isham Jabali, he's been in good form in that game against Denmark. He had an XG of 0.5, and then he had 3 shots on target. And also remember, he's a good player who can create a lot more chances as well. So watch out for him in this game. Tunisian team, that defense has been quite impressive through the course of this tournament. I expect it to continue that way because it's going to be a much easier game than the game they had against Denmark. Because Denmark was a strong team. They are consistently one of the favorites to top the group. Though they had a draw against Tunisia, and Tunisia did show a lot of fight. Though they were the underdogs going into that game, but again, as we keep talking about the underdog stories, right? You have to say that ultimately it is one team who has been coming out on top. It has been none other than the teams who are punching above the weight. So Tunisian team, I personally think will start as favorites in today's game, but then don't write off Australian team as well. If I talk about Australian team, Matt Ryan is an important player to watch out for in today's game. Is Matt? He's been putting up some good performance for them. If you look at his if you look at the way in which he's been performing throughout, he's an important player and is between the sticks. I think he's gonna be an important factor in today's game as well, and especially if it comes against a strong Tunisian team. But ultimately, I feel it's going to come down to who really will have the attacking prowess to create those chances, grab the first chance. The moment who you score the first goal, both the team have got their ability to defend. But Australian team did not really have it against France because that quality of the French team was too good, and this is possibly one of the weakest Australian team to have ever played in the World Cup. I'm really sorry, Michelle, but then that is a fact.
Yeah, but then even though they might be, the weaker teams, as you mentioned, but that doesn't mean that they don't have what it takes to win. Because against France, initially it seemed like Les Blues were facing some of the World Cup Blues, and Australia did take advantage of it. Talk me through, the two players, especially the one that is the player who scored the goal, Craig Goodwin, and then of course we have Aaron Moy, who's a holding midfielder for Australia. Two players who really shown in that first half for Australia, where Australia looked like the team who were going toe to toe with France before the class and skill of France. France took over. Talk about these two players and how important will their performances be today, because they did seem together to work out, be a goal threat.
Yes, they were extremely threatening in that first game. Especially Iron Mui, he did have his opportunity. He was extremely impressive against France in that first half. Though France went on to win and they went on to dominate Australia in all departments. But the fact of the matter is that uh, with the Australian team, they are also highly erratic. You don't get a consistent Australian team on the park. Let it be in all World Cups. There are moments where this Australian team comes to really go out there and threat. They're highly potent in terms of the attacking threats up front and also their defensive acumen. But ultimately, what happens is that they're unable to maintain that through the course of the 90 minutes. They tend to lose it at some stage or the other, which is leading them to have to face these kind of losses in big margin. I remember in 2014 World Cup, they had a terrific run. They had a good couple of games, and even there, I thought Tim Cahill's goal. Who doesn't forget it? The way he's scoring in Netherlands, they were playing really well, but then they go on to lose it because they did not have maybe the experience to hold on to that lead, they don't have the experience or that what do I say that mentality to hold on to the lead which they get. There are occasions where they really come close. They equalize a game, but they tend to let go of it. So these are areas which they like to improve. And against a Tunisian team who are still yet to get off the mark in this World Cup, I personally think they can really play a lot more attacking. I know Australian team will be the underdog going into this match once again. They like to maintain the shape, attack on the counter once again. But I personally think Australian team should be more braver in today's game to take on the attack to the Tunisian team.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the next match then, Abel. The next match that we're going to have here is in India, the local time 6:30 p.m. is Poland versus Saudi Arabia. Two teams are coming into this match with a different, what do you say, from different spectrums. Saudi Arabia coming into this match really, really outperforming Argentina. I mean, tactically outmaneuvered Argentina, and then on the other hand, Poland, who did not really get going in their first match, but I mean, Aisha in the comments is saying, that yeah, I think we have Sean. I think Sean is from New Zealand, if I'm not wrong. So
Yeah.
there's a cross. I think it's called cross oceanic. I think the
No,
oceanic
it's called
rivalry. If that's how you put it.
trans-Tasman rivalry.
Trans Tasman rivalry. Yes, you've got it spot on. And well, let's see who wins. It's Michelle versus Sean. And by the way, let's take a few comments. Aisha does say that Saudi Arabia will win today, but able do you reckon Saudi Arabia has got it to do it 2-2 because Poland is a good team?
Well, I mean, it's tough, but at the same time, uh, not to downplay what happened with Argentina. They did dominate Argentina.
And
It's
Matthias
not
in the
easy.
comments has just said that Saudi will get hammered today. Will the big
Yeah.
Lewandowski come down? Because his Polish career
Remember,
hasn't been as
Lewandowski is yet to
illustrative
score a
as his.
World Cup goal in his career. So
Yeah,
maybe this is a
yeah. I mean,
moment where,
his Polish career has not been as good or as illustrative as his club career, hasn't it?
yeah, you can say so, and it's also to do with the teammates he's playing around, right? It's not that one player can do all the job in football. You need to have 11
Yeah.
good players on the park to help you, and that's a fact. Even if you're Lionel Messi, if you do not have a good team, you cannot definitely carry that team into a final. Messi has maybe done it in 2014, but that also he had support from Di Maria. He had support from other players. Ultimately, you couldn't win the tournament because it had to come down to the fact that one player alone cannot carry their team, and that's a basic thing in football. Time and time again, we keep telling it because even though Lewandowski has got support in the likes of Zelensky and all these lads, but I personally think somebody in the Polish team has to be more penetrative. Even against Mexico, they had a couple of chances, but they were not penetrative enough to really. They were not threatening enough. At no point did you ever feel like Poland is going to maybe score these goals and take the game on from to take the game away from Mexico. Throughout the game, you always felt like Poland team are the better team. Poland team are the underdogs, and that was very shocking because both the teams were on level par, and hence you saw that score line as well. Both the teams were extremely underconfident coming into this World Cup, and no team were really able to break that deadlock. So even once again today, I think the team which breaks the deadlock first up will really have the chance. And for Saudi Arabia team, they know they're very close to qualifying from the round of 16. A win today will really stamp the authority and really help them to qualify. And do not forget, the win today will really even make them top the group. So that's how close they are of
Yeah.
uh,
And I
of
mean,
really.
they'll have one foot in the next round, right?
Yeah, I think they're almost through if they win today. and
Yeah,
and that's what they'll be feeling. I know their goal difference is also not bad.
especially thanks to that draw between Poland and Mexico. I think they'll get that gulf, increase that gulf today.
I mean, yeah, especially because of that reason, and also with Argentina playing against Mexico, you do not know what to expect from the Argentinian team. I think we'll talk about it later tonight. But the fact of the
Yeah,
matter is that for Saudi Arabian team, their eyes will be definitely on one thing, that is to just get a win. They've got the ability to do it. If they play as good as they did against Argentina once again, I think nobody can ever stop them. I know they're going to be missing their captain. Mostly their captain will not be playing in today's game. I know it's a miss, but then he's not playing the second half as well. Still, they went on to win that match by a very good margin, and they went on to dominate in areas. So they're playing a good, impressive brand of football, and I personally think they're the best team in Asia. Because of the group they've had. Now, if you talk about a team like
yeah,
Australia, a team like Iran, they've had easier groups. But when you talk about a team like Saudi, they've had a tough group in qualification. They've had to really fight their way out. They've topped the group with being undefeated in the qualification stages as well. Personally, for me, the best team from Asia to qualify because of the kind of effort they put in, and and that's been clearly seen in the way they played in their first match as well. So I won't be surprised if Saudi's able to get some point, if not a win, at least a draw.
fair enough, fair enough. I mean, we have the fantasy lineup for this fixture. I reckon, Abel. Can
Mhm.
you run me through the fantasy lineup for those of you all who will be hoping to, reap some rewards, even if Poland or Saudi Arabia wins? You can definitely go ahead and win a lot more than some of these players if you play your strategies right, if you pick the right players, and you can do it by downloading the app on Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Abel, what are some of the tips you will give for us, for our viewers, when it comes to today's match between uh, Saudi and Poland?
Yeah, I mean, to be very honest, you have to keep it Robert Lewandowski regardless of his scoring form with Polish team. You'll
Yeah,
never
he
know with
still
Robert
is the best
Lewandowski.
player on the pitch today between these two teams.
Yeah, you can keep an Al Shari. He did come in very good against Argentina. He did score one, and what a goal did he score! But when you talk about the midfield, you can keep in Matthew Cash. Matthew Cash can be a wing back and a defensive option. You can go in with the Zelensky, Mohamed Khano. Then you can go with Krychowiak, and I still think you can go in with a Saudi goalkeeper. You know, Saudi goalkeeper has had put in a very
He
good
was
show against
brilliant.
Argentina. He put in a man of the match performance. If he can do the same tonight, I think nobody's going to cross his wall. He's a true wall for Saudi Arabia, and they'll be super
Yeah.
motivated because Crown Prince has announced a Rolls Royce car for everybody. It's not like they can't afford it already, but definitely a lot more. I think maybe next time it's going to be Bugatti if they go on to qualify for the round of 16. With every round, you get more rewards, so that's the thing. Maybe a
Yeah, I
fun
think
more holiday in Saudi Arabia.
the more the points, more the points, better the car, better the reward, as it is in Boomer 11 as well.
Yes, absolutely. So Saudi Arabian crown prince and royal family are in sync with what we do. So you better do well, and you get more points and get your chance to earn some really good rewards.
Yeah,
And
I
in
mean,
Boomer Living,
you might not come into the eyes of MBS, but you'll definitely come into the eyes of our Boomer 11 official Instagram page, and we'll definitely be putting some stories up you win. So
yeah, truly, and that's something which I can agree to that as well. And also at the same time, it's absolute free of cost to do. You know, you'll not get injured. You can sit in your easy rooms, just pick up the mobiles
yeah,
which are using 24/7 and make your team already. The link is right there in the bio. You've got what 4 hours to make the team from now on, and not 3 hours to make the team, and make it. And now the match has already begun with Australia and Tunisia, but nonetheless, you can make the if you haven't already made the team for this game, make it for the next game, which is Saudi versus Poland, and a match
yeah.
which will happen later tonight, which is France with Denmark, which is supposedly one of the best matches of this tournament because the one who will
Let's talk
win
about
that
this.
game,
Yeah,
yeah,
let's start with
I
this
was just
match,
saying that,
right?
yeah.
France. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
So I was just saying that the one who will win that game will have a better chance of topping the group. So that's all.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did speak about this match coming up. Denmark is a team which punches above their weight. Yeah, Priyanka, for Saudi, if they win today, they'll be on they'll be on 6 points, and no other team will be able to get 6 points because Argentina, Mexico, they have won. I mean, they've won and no points. So if Argentina win, they get three. If Mexico win, they get four. If it's a draw, then it's two and one. So if Saudi win, they're done. I think they're just gone. They're going through this. This doesn't seem like there's any way that they will be, at least in this round of fixtures, they will end up top of the group. Yeah, I mean, you never know, right? I mean, the Saudi team seems highly motivated. But let's Saloni says nice shirt. I don't know. She's talking about me or Abel. I'm assuming it's Abel. Um,
Anyways, thank you from both of us. Thank you, Saloni. You've been very kind
yeah,
and
I'm
nice
actually
to your
wearing a.
thoughts also.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Saloni. I'll take the compliment. I'll assume the compliment, before you can change it, so that you might
Yeah.
feel guilty if it's not me. But let's talk about France and Denmark. Two teams who, especially, we did speak about France not being the kind of team which is high on teamwork, but we saw when they went 1-0 down against Australia, suddenly the dead teamwork from 2018 suddenly awakening in them. They played like a beast on the pitch. Kylian Mbappe was passing and crossing able. That's how serious things got.
I mean, he's slightly happy that Benzema is not part of the team, to be very honest. But
Maybe this is how he
jokes
launches,
apart,
so maybe he's had a conversation where he's like, this is my Ballon d'Or year now. I'm winning the World Cup, hopefully the Champions League, because they've got a very good chance to win the Champions League as well. And they've got a
they
good
do,
chance
they
to
do.
win the World Cup.
Yeah.
So maybe he's like, this is it. Enough is enough. Ninja Turtle needs some Ballon d'Ors.
I mean, he is one of the best players in the world. There is no doubting his talent, his potential. I remember the commentators say that he was the best young player in 2018. Now he's the best player in the world. I think you're not far away from that. If you look at the top players in the
For
world
me, it's
right now,
Haaland. It's Haaland,
sorry.
Abel.
Uh,
It's Haaland for me.
yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you can say he's one of the best. If you ever say top three players in the world
Fair
right
enough.
now, you have to say
Yeah.
I'll definitely put Kevin De Bruyne there up there. You have to say Karim
Yeah, of
Benzema,
course. Of course.
Robert Lewandowski, Haaland. You
I mean,
have
I
to
wouldn't
say
say Robert as much
Luka
because I think
Modric.
Robert Lewandowski, ever since he's left Bayern, he's taken some time. So maybe now
Yeah,
he's
Luka
kind of,
Modric.
lower
I'll
down.
still not put Robert Lewandowski, but then I'll put Luka Modric. So there are the old pros. There is a Neymar
Yeah,
who's had a very good season so far.
of
So
course,
you
of
still
course.
can't put a best player tag, the world's best, the best player tag, like what you had with the Messi or Ronaldo. It was just a two-way signal all throughout. It was like two-way
Yeah.
traffic throughout the last decade or so. Finally, you are getting more players into that spectrum of the world's best player, which finally is a good thing. But at
So, I
the
mean, I'll
same
ask you
time,
a tough question, Ibu. It's
yeah,
going to be a very tricky one.
yeah.
Do you reckon that Ronaldo and Messi, now that I mean, you would say that they've dominated the world football for 15 years, and you mentioned there was no player close to them, probably a Neymar who was when he played for Barcelona, but then his career petered out, when he started playing for PSG, like the limelight was gone. These two players were able to, dominate for 15 years, but now there are a lot more players, as you mentioned. Is it because the standard of these players have the standard of football has risen to the level that was the bar that was set by Ronaldo and Messi, or is it because now that they are older, that bar has come down?
Bar is still high. I still believe that, but at the same time, what Messi and Ronaldo did at that age, I don't think anybody's ever going to do it. Maybe you have to wait for another generation. It's not like it's not breakable. It's unbreakable or something, but then it is breakable. But for them to
I mean,
do it,
like for
they
my
have
question
to
being
really.
able, it's like always, when the first person climbs Mount Everest, till then it was believed to be impossible, right? And that first person is the one who breaks the stigma that this is impossible. Then the next person who does it, that his feat is not as huge because people already believe that this is something that's achievable. Now my question is Messi and Ronaldo have set a bar, right? But now what Messi and Ronaldo has done, if someone else does it, you would say that, oh, this hasn't done before, so the achievement is not great. You'll obviously have to pass Messi and Ronaldo for people to get noticed. That's what Pele did, that's what Maradona did, and that's what Messi has done, and that's what Ronaldo has done. But now an Mbappe and a Haaland will have to not just do what Messi and Ronaldo did, we'll have to do a lot more, right? To really reclaim that.
Yes, you can say that because the bar which is already set by Messi and Ronaldo is too big and too steep that anybody who even comes closer to that bar, you can say they've had a good career or they've had an excellent career. That's why I personally think for a lot of people, for a lot of fans from this generation at least, who are going to watch football from this World Cup, for them, they might not be able to really rejoice what Messi and Ronaldo has been over the years. It's not like
Hmm.
they've seen it all. They've done exceedingly well in World Cups. But the fact of the matter, in club football over the last 10 years in Europe, they've dominated opposition. They've had records for fun. So scored 91 goals in a season looks like he's played on some video game for sure. I don't think even on FIFA on a beginner mode I was able to do that in my career mode. To be very fair, when I was playing the career mode on a beginner mode, I remember the match I was able to score was like 53 goals, and I was like, how did Messi do it in real life? So that is what it is. It's very tough to do it. Even if you're playing a video game, it's so hard. I don't know how did a player
Yeah,
do that so constantly, and how did Messi and Ronaldo score 50 plus goals for 5 consecutive seasons? It's just ridiculous to do it. So for any player
absolutely.
to even to do it, this time we saw Haaland do it. Haaland came very close, but Haaland's expected goal ratio is what, 62, and Messi at 91. So you can just imagine how tough it is to even break that record. Now you're saying Haaland is having one of the greatest seasons by a football player, but just look at Ronaldo and Messi, what they were able to achieve in the last 10 years. Mbappe and Haaland have a long way to go. At Mbappe's age,
I
Messi had
mean,
three Ballon d'Ors, if
there
I'm
are
not
a few
wrong.
of our in the comment section. There are a few people who have joined the debate. World's best player right now, Helga Freuler. If I hope that's the way I'm pronouncing your name, I hope it's
Freuler,
correct. See,
Freuler.
undoubtedly, KDB and Benzema and Modric are her three best players. And Carlo Fernandez says that Messi is the best player of all time. Nobody's close. And best goal scorer is Ronaldo. I think I'll agree with that because for me, Messi is a little bit more complete player. I wouldn't say I've been as ardent a football follower as you've been able, but correct me if I'm wrong. Messi for me is a lot more complete player because Messi can play undoubtedly anywhere on the pitch, maybe even a goalkeeper's position, because he is someone who's been a playmaker and who's been a goal scorer. So he is truly a player, who you can fit anywhere else, and also he won't complain. I mean,
See, Messi has
I'm being a bit
limitations,
salty
especially when
there.
it comes to his defensive work rate. When it comes to a lot of other things, Messi has a limitation, which is okay with a striker. Okay, I'm fine with it. But what Messi will give you on the pitch is that he can drop in deep, he can create a play, he can create those moments of magic. Messi in his prime could single-handedly take a team home. That's what he could do. His
Yeah.
dribbling skills were second to none, and that's why he was compared straight away with Maradona. And to compare yourself with Maradona in itself is a tough thing. Not just because he was an Argentinian, because of the skills which he possessed in a big way as well.
Hmm.
So I personally think what Messi has done in a short span of time has been excellent. I know he's had an illustrious career so far, and I still think he's got enough age to play another 3 more years to end his career with some more accolades. And you'll all be hoping, or he himself will be hoping that it at least he can call it a day if he has got the World Cup in his hands 1 month later. That could possibly be the end. And from there on, you don't need anything more. And it's not like he deserves the World Cup. World Cup doesn't owe anybody anything. But ultimately, it
Football
looked
is a
very good
global
on him.
game.
And if you talk about the same thing with Cristiano Ronaldo as well, Cristiano Ronaldo has also had a very good career in terms of what he has achieved in such a short, in a period of time where he's really dominated world football. He has made youngsters look so silly. His work rate is the kind of dedication he has put in. It's not easy to survive a career like this in football and to be in the elite list for so long and to do. Now you're saying Cristiano Ronaldo at the age of 37. Okay, you can understand he's 37, and you're still calling him to be one of the best players in the world. That's because of the kind of standards he set for himself. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't have a couple of good games. You say he's a bad player. That's unfair on him, and also of what he has achieved.
I mean, there is this thing that George Sampioli had said once, right? Messi does not owe the World Cup to Argentina, but football owed the World Cup to Messi. Do you reckon? I mean, we're going to have a bit more, a lot more to talk about it Argentina match later on. But do you reckon that Argentina owes the World Cup to Messi, if not football?
It's tough, to be honest. I mean, these things sound very good philosophically, but in
Yeah.
real life, nobody owes anybody anything. You have to earn it, and World Cup is a trophy which you have to earn it by yourself, and as a team, you have to earn it.
You've
It's
been
not
such a
like,
downer.
yeah. So I don't really believe in this, especially in sports. You have to earn it. Nobody owes anybody anything. You have to
Yeah.
earn your way out. For example, I can give you one of the best examples has been for Copa America 2021. Messi hadn't had the international trophy had been eluding him for the longest period of time, but then he went on to put in a shift. He went on to play one of the best tournaments of his life to really earn that trophy. Ultimately, there was no debate as to
Hmm.
why did even Argentina win that. They were the best team of the tournament by miles. Messi topped in all charts. So that's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Uh, a team when they're going to dominate the tournament and go on to win, there nobody will even spark a debate about anything. Even 2014, Argentina did come very close, but the Germany team were the most deserving one. They earned it. So that's what it is.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, we did get sidetracked a little bit, but let's talk again about Denmark and France match. Let's talk about Christian Eriksen, as Helga Fuller mentioned, right? Christian Eriksen is a player, is a story of a comeback. I mean, I remember me and you, we both were watching, or we both were talking to each other. I remember during that Euro match where he had collapsed due to heartburn. What a comeback, right? What a comeback from him. Kudos to him. Kudos to the Danish team, by the way. I mean, it really brought them together, that tournament. They went a long way ahead, riding. They all became brothers in arms, as you would say. How I mean, inspiring is his story to all football fans and players.
Um, every time I keep saying that, right? For the Denmark team, they kind of came together as a unit after that finished match which they had in Euros. Since then, you saw them play different kind of football. They have really come out as the most dangerous unit. They've taken on some of the best teams in the world to have the better of
Yeah.
France time and time again. They become like a bogey team for France. Even in the last World Cup, they did not get the result against France. They really went down fighting them. They did not have a better World Cup. But since Euros last year, they've been in fine form. They've been one of the best teams to watch. They've just been a team who wants to do it a lot more, time and time again. If you look at their recent performances, they've had win against France 2-0. They wanted to defeat a good Austrian setup under Ralf Ragnick. They drew against Tunisia, but then I don't think that speaks anything about the kind of caliber they've got. They've defeated France not once but twice already in the last 8 months, and they've gone on to have a good match against Serbia, who's a decent team. So they've had the moments where they've really gone on to do well and do well in a convincing way. It's not like they're having pushovers. They're playing some scratchy football, getting the results, but they've been very impressive on the ball as well. They've been playing with a lot more passion. They've been playing with a lot more intensity. They've been able to press in occasions, and it's not like they're pressing like wild chickens. They've been pressing with a certain with a certain intent. It
Scandinavian flair,
triggers.
you would say?
Sorry.
You would say Scandinavian flair?
Yeah, you can
If
say that,
that's
but more to do with the kind of tactics which Casper Hugland also has put himself. The Casper Hugland, the manager, has really taken this team on his hands, and he's been very clear about the vision, the kind of style they want to play. He's got the players to do it. The likes of Damsgaard, the likes of Olsen, Ericsson himself. To have him back in the squad is a huge boost for this team, because for
Yeah.
this team they personally needed someone like Ericsson back in the team, because what Ericsson can do, not a lot of players can do. Look at him in United. He's playing as a number 6. He can play as a number 10. He can play as a box to box midfielder. He can do it all. Uh, Everybody knows he's coming off one of the biggest life threatening incidents which any player or any human being could possibly go through. Despite that, the kind of
Yeah.
work rate he puts in is second to none. And in the back line, they've got a Christensen and Simon Kjær, top notch defenders. Simon Kjær is a leader in himself, and Kasper Schmeichel between the sticks. All players are too good, and to have Hoiberg and Delaney in the middle, and also to have someone like a Mehle. I'm a huge fan of. I'm a huge fan of Mehle. I think he's one of the most attacking wing backs in the world right now. And for this Denmark team, he's been used with perfection time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Last two times that they met in the Nations League, Denmark is the one who's gone away with wins on both the occasions. So France will be coming back with a lot of vendetta. But however, this is a different kettle of fish, or a different curry, as you would say, because this is the World Cup, and the pressure is high, the stakes are higher. That's another match that's going to be very exciting to watch. Abel, we've got the fantasy lineup, if I'm not wrong, for this match as well. So let's look at the fantasy lineup, and let me know how the ones looking once again to get some rewards on Boom 11 and score points. How should they be proceeding ideally?
I mean, you can go with the French attack, but I would still say go in with someone like Doiberg or Olsen in your team as well. You can keep a Dembele, but at the same time, maybe look for someone like a Doiberg, or you can also go in with an Olsen. Not bad. Keep it a mix. Do not go in with a heavy France loaded team because of the name in the paper. Though we have chosen this, this is a conservative approach which we really take you. We choose it, but at the same time, I think if you have to win fantasy contests, you have to go to left field. You have to take braver calls, as you say. If you have to really top the fantasy chart, the one who's slightly left field is the one who always tops it up, because that's what
And I
makes you
mean,
different
why
from other
not, right?
players.
Abel? Because in at Boom 11, the one good thing about playing a fantasy is the fact that you don't have anything to lose, right? Because you, I mean,
Yeah,
I suppose the only thing you lose is coins, but you don't really lose money, and there's no financial risk as such. So why not
absolutely.
go a little left side? Why not take some risks? Because it might improve your overall fantasy play, and you might be better for it.
I mean, yes, absolutely. Especially when it comes to fantasy side of things, you can go in with as many experimentation as possible. But
Yeah.
my suggestion to you is that wherever you play, regardless of your fantasy skills, wherever you want to test it out, I would say go in with players from the Danish team, especially in the attacking front. You've got a Doiberg, you've got an Olsen. You can try him and also try out a Damsgaard. I think he'll be used as a substitute in today's game, and he will be very threatening. And if you look at the lineup as well, which you have given in the midfield, has been a mix. You can go with the Chouameni, but alongside Ericsson, you can go in instead of Rabiot, you can go in with the Hoiberg as well. So mix it up pretty well. And the backline, I would still suggest going with the French backline instead of a Christian Eriksen. You can maybe try to bring in a wing back from France. I know the wing back hasn't been the best possible option for them, but they're not bad trying it out again. You can maybe you saw in the Australian game as well. France in their defensive line has been top notch, and Konate has been doing a good job. And also alongside maybe Pavard, you can find Lucas Hernandez is out of the World Cup, so look for players who can maybe fill in that role. Maybe try for a Jules Kunde. He might possibly start in today's match at Theo Hernandez. I think you should go in with Theo Hernandez in today's game for sure, and
Hmm.
mix it up pretty well. And Mahile should be a sure starter in your team as well, because what he can provide in your team is that adaptability. He can be defensively good at the same time, attackingly extremely threatening as well. So mix it up, go in with a 6-5 lineup, and remember, in the three out of three occasions, Denmark has had the better of the French national team, and they've been the bogey team of France over the last couple of years. So remember that, keep the stats in mind. It's not going to be an easy game for France. We all are expecting Denmark to at least drop this game, if not win it, and maybe share points. So it's not going to be like a 60-40 game to start off with just because of reputation of France, the world champions, or against the game against Australia. Denmark are a damn good team going into this game.
Yeah, they are. And I think again, some of the European teams, they are very comfortable in their shoes. So I think that's not going to be an issue at all. Noah Van Meekeren says that looking forward for another great game. Azul here says that Denmark will get home tonight, and that's going to be that's not going to be easy, you would say, against this French team, but it's not impossible as well.
Yeah, I still think it is going to be tough to predict at this point. But
It
I
is.
can
It
tell you
is.
one thing for sure. It's going to be an exciting game of football. It's going to be one of the best games of football because of the attacking threat, because of the kind of style of play which Denmark has adopted over the last 2 to 3 years. They are going to press in the French defense. They're going to press France a lot more, and France is not going to find it comfortable. France are going to be extremely conservative today. Don't expect the France team which you saw
Hmm.
against Australia today, because against Australia they knew they were superior in all departments. They were superior in terms of skill, in terms of their in terms of attacking potency. Against under Didier Deschamps, they have not looked. They're not the most attacking team. Same thing. What you can say with Gareth Southgate. Though he has won them a Euros, taken them to a
Yeah.
though he has won the World Cup and taken them to a Euro final, but still the criticism of Didier Deschamps on the flip side is that he's extremely conservative as well. He doesn't let
Yeah,
his
I remember
players press.
in the previous World Cup itself, right? In the semi-final, I think if they played against Belgium, and the Belgium manager had very scathing comments on Didier Deschamps. He went on to say that French played negative football, football that is unnatural. I think that is exactly how he put it. And it was very scathing. He said that they sat back and waited for Belgium to come at them, and that wasn't football and how it is meant to be played. So I think that's pretty scathing when it comes to Didier Deschamps, but that's what wins you cups, right? So what do you reckon about this debate about beautiful football versus championships?
Uh, I think in a league, you need to play good football to win it. I'm not seeing a lot of teams win
Mhm.
leagues in the modern football, at least over the last 5 years, by playing conservative football. Very rarely you see that. You have to be very good. You have to get those points. You can't go for draws. But in tournament football, you can still afford to be pragmatic, and you can still go on to win the league. That's mainly because you are only playing what, 6 to 7 games, and in that, even if you draw
Yeah.
games in the knockouts, you can go to the penalty shootouts or to the extra time and get points and proceed further on. And group stage, if you can get a couple of victories, you're through to the next round. From there on, it's as every match as it comes. You don't have to be extravagant. You have to be still. You can be conservative. You can try to protect your backline. You can try to be compact as possible in playing those games. But when it comes to league football, I think in the last 5 to 6 years, you're seeing the managers who are attacking, who want to go out there and take the game on. 38 games in hand, you have to get at least close to 70 to 70, 75 to 85 points to get that top four spot or the top two spot. So you are looking for a lot more points. You are looking for a win in every game you play in league. But unlike what you're doing in national football, in international football, you are a lot more conservative because of the stage, because of the occasion. At the same time, you don't have this players of a club football skill as well. You might have talented players. When in club football, they have the chemistry. You put in a system over a period of 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. But here, players are coming over a period of 2 to 3 weeks, and all of a sudden, it's very tough to create a system.
Yeah, Shinwari Ahmed says that भाईजान मैं हूँ कतार में एंड वर्ल्ड कप का मजे लेने एंड मैच नहीं देख रहा हूँ हाँ पर वाइब लेगा आई थिंक दैट आई मीन शिनवारी वाइब तो बहुत बहुत ही बढ़िया रहेगा कतार में क्योंकि वर्ल्ड कप का एक वाइब ही अलग रहता है ना और फुटबॉल वर्ल्ड कप तो कितने ज्यादा कंट्रीज आई मीन मुल्क कितने ज्यादा मुल्क से लोग आते हैं फीफा वर्ल्ड कप देखने के लिए और उस तरीके का एक कल्चरल क्या कहते हैं उसे हर तरीके का कल्चर एक्सपीरियंस करने का मिलता है कहीं ना कहीं और हर जगह से लोग जो आते हैं और एक एक तरीके से ना एक फ्लेवर ही अलग होता है वर्ल्ड कप का एंड बस यार मजे लो और क्या ही बोल सकते हैं
Yeah, absolutely. I personally also think the same thing, especially when it comes to, you know, Qatar, the World Cup and the vibe. It's just top notch. I've been seeing some of the videos on Instagram. Uh, it just looks very good. The streets are decorated, the buildings are decorated. They've been creating fan parks for fans to come and have a good time, and they've created separate fan zones for every team as well, for Argentina, for Brazil, so that people can have a look at the team's history. So the fans can come together, cheer for their team outside the stadium as well. So I think the vibe has been created very well by the Qatarian government, and also they've spent close to what $220 billion.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
the
expect something out of
highest
it.
ever spent on a World Cup.
Absolutely. So you expect something in return as well out of whatever you spend. So
Yeah.
so far, I think you're gonna have a good time in Qatar. Have a fun time, I would say.
Fair enough. Well, Abel, I think that's pretty much it from our end. We'll be back for fantasy and the preview for the Argentina versus Mexico match. Two teams, especially Argentina, hoping to make a recovery after that shocker against Saudi Arabia, and
Yeah.
Mexico obviously trying to prove that they are a better team than what they have been that they performed against Poland. So that's going to be a
Yeah.
very interesting match. We will be back by then. Right as of now, we already 22 minutes in 23 minutes into the match between Tunisia and Australia, nil so far. It's been pretty end to end, and I mean, we never know. Oh, I think just now, as I say that, Australia have broken through. Able, they've scored their first goal of the day, and I still
Yeah.
don't know who's the one who scored it yet. Number 15 for Australia. I mean, if do you know who it is?
I'm not sure who it is, but yeah, I did not see that moment because I was just on the live, so I did not see the goal coming in.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
as you
while you've
mentioned,
been
I just
speaking,
turned.
I have been just glancing here and there. For those of you, you might be able to see the colors change on my specs. You might realize when I'm switching
Yeah.
over and when I'm not. But if Michelle, you're watching, congrats! Your team is starting has got off on the best foot possible, opening the goal because it was a deadlock. It was going, we would say 50-50, but this
It's
is
called
a
a Mitchell
very good
Duke.
start. Mitchell Duke. Well, that is the first goal. Well,
That's a
and
very
that's
good
I just
goal.
pretty much put Australia 57. Yeah,
Yeah,
very very
it's a
good
very
goal.
good
Very
goal.
good
It
run
came
into
off
the
the
box.
defender and great
Yeah,
header right in front of the goal. That was to
absolutely.
finish it
Yeah.
off in that way. It's a great header. The Australian defenders couldn't get a clear of it. It just came off the foot of one of the wing backs as well. So great way to
Hmm.
start it off. Something like what they had against France. Now I hope they are able to keep the
And
lead.
guess who
Something which we
Abel is
did
the one?
predict.
Guess who made the run on the wings? It's Goodwin. It's Craig Goodwin, the same player who had scored the goal in the first match against France. So he's turning out to be having a very, very good World Cup. But that's pretty much it from our end. Then let us wait for the results of this match. We will be definitely covering the results of these matches before the Argentina match. We'll be coming live right before the kickoff, and we'll be talking about the fantasy predictions and a lot more. But that match is a turning point. Will be a turning point definitely for this Argentinian team and fans. Both me and Abel are, I've jumped onto the bandwagon. Abel has been an Argentinian fan for quite some time, so We will probably be coming back
I'm a
with
neutral.
either
I
a
don't
happy
support any
able
team in
or
the
a
World
sad
Cup.
able.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah?
I don't support any team in the World Cup. I'm a neutral.
Oh, come on. Now
I
you're
mean,
just
I'm not.
ousting me in front of the world.
I mean, I like to be a neutral, and in this World Cup, at least, being the neutral is the best thing. You don't have to get
Uh-huh.
heartbreaks, but
Um,
ultimately, I will
Guys, you
still
should
wear
have
the
seen him after the
Argentina.
You should have seen him after the Argentina match. Right now, he's just ousting me, and trying to negate me. But I'll just end this live before Abel gets even more negative. And thank you so much, guys, for joining us.
Yeah,
Please do
guys.
download the Boomer 11 app on Apple App Store and Google Play, and make sure that even if whether Argentina wins or not, you can definitely have a chance to win if you pick your players right and your strategies right. Thank you guys for joining once again. We'll be back later tonight, and hopefully we'll be covering that match against Argentina and Mexico and the matches before, because there's a lot of exciting action coming up today. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Have a good time, all of you, and have fun watching football on the weekend.